Today, the 2021 motorsports season begins in Canada, and with it, a brand new venture. The Sports Car Championship Canada debuts here at the home of motorsports, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Let the action begin.
It's time to party like a rock star.
This is the inaugural race of the FEL's newly launched Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. All of the nation's top road racing talent in attendance here today, and we finally see a return to on-track action here in 2021. Hello and welcome. I'm Dave Bradley. Along with me is top road racing talent here in Canada, Kyle Marcelli, and Todd Lewis will be handling microphone duties for us trackside. Kyle, it's been a long 18 months for really not only people here in Canada, but people across the world. We're finally emerging from the pandemic. We're finally seeing a sense of normalcy, and that normalcy is going to have a very strong road racing presence in this country.
Yeah, it is so good to be back at a racetrack here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for round one of the FEL Canadian Sports Car Championship. This is going to be a 12-race series between Ontario and Quebec. The long-term plans, it's going to be a national series all across Canada. We haven't seen this since the 90s in the Players GM Series, which produced great talent such as Ron Fellows, Dave Empringham, Scott Maxwell, and more. Really excited to be back. Can't wait to watch this series get underway.
Chris Bai is the man with the vision behind this championship. No stranger to motorsports in this country, is a 30-plus year history in Canada. And what's interesting about this series, it's going to feature two classes racing on the track at the same time.
Exactly. We've got two categories, the GT4 class, which is the faster category. These are rear-wheel drive cars, some V6, some V8. 450 horsepower. And then you've got the TC Canada class, which are front-wheel drive race cars, 2-liter turbocharged cars like the Honda Civic, the Audi RS3. Truly multi-class racing.
It is going to be exciting, and with more on today's race, let's send it down trackside and say hello to Todd Lewis. Todd?
Thanks, guys. We expect plenty of excitement today. Weather conditions are nearly perfect. We had track records laid down in both the GT4 and TC Canada class. The drivers have been raving about these Michelin tires. Even early in a run, they can go quickly. They can push the cars hard. And when they need to jump on the brakes to slow the cars down, these cars and tires can take anything that the drivers throw at them. Lots of excitement expected. The drivers are getting strapped in. It's the two Marcos on the front row, Signoretti and Cerrone. We get the green flag for the Sports Car Championship Canada when we come back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on TSN.
The 2021 Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin, is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward. And by FAB, for the love of the road. So the field starts to roll off from the paddock here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as we get set for the very first race in the Sports Car Championship Canada. And Kyle, take us through this 10-turn course.
Yeah, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, there's nothing like this circuit in North America. It is old school, it is fast and flowing right from the get-go in turn 1, turn 2, a small break and a downshift for 3, turn 4 again quick, then into turn 5, the slowest part of the section, up the Andretti straightaway. Turn 8 is super quick, a break and a downshift for 9, turn 10, and then back onto the start-finish.
Taking a look at the starting lineup here, as Todd mentioned, it is the two Marcos on the front row, Marco Signoretti and Marco Cerrone. Then row number 2 is Travis Hill and Tom Kwok. Louis-Philippe Montour and Richard Boak make up row number 3. Nick Loymans in 7th, and Tony Martella starting in 8th. Row number 5, Bob Attrell and Gary Kwok. Then Connor Attrell and Ron Tomlinson make up row number 6. Row 7 has Quinn Attrell and Gilles Nadeau, and that is your field for today's inaugural race. It's a good shot from turn 5 back towards turn number 4, and there you can see a downhill left-hander and then back uphill into turn number 5. A very challenging circuit, Kyle, as you mentioned, and there will be lots of stories we'll be watching over the course of today's timed race. And with more on those stories, let's send it back down to Todd.
Fellas, something to keep an eye on in the early going. The 84 car of Richard Boak had some problems during qualifying. They had an electronics issue, and it hampered his qualifying lap. It set him back a little bit in the field. They believe they have corrected the problem. They think they can be a couple of seconds faster per lap. They won't know if they've corrected that problem until the race starts. Something to watch for in the early going.
Yeah, I caught up with Richard earlier in the weekend. They said, you know, this is a new car to them, and they're still learning it. What's also good to note is he's on the DSG transmission in this Audi RS3. Marco Cerrone, also in the same car, has a sequential transmission. So some minor differences, and they're adjusted for in what's called a balance of performance. Cerrone will be carrying a little extra weight. But let's see if Boak can take care of those electrical issues and take the green flag.
And lots of onboards will give us great views around this 10-turn circuit. As you see the field line up 2 by 2, they are set for green in through turn number 9. The pace car pulls off. Once they exit turn number 10, we will see the green here in the first race for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. Marco Signoretti and Marco Cerrone, and Signoretti jumps on it huge, and we go green. Problems for Boak. You saw the car slow up on the front straightaway as everybody navigates turn number 1 for the first time.
Yeah, Signoretti got a good jump, but we see the TC Canada class all over the place as they cross start-finish line. Obviously a result of Boak's electrical issue by the looks of things. Yeah, you could see him there slow as they crest turn 2.
Now into turn 3. Look at that. We've got to move to the inside, and that's one of the quad cars gets crossways in front of the field into the inside wall. A couple other cars collected. I didn't see if anybody made contact with Kwok originally, but that's the 15 of Nick Loymans.
Yeah, we'll see if we get a replay on that. It didn't look like there was any contact. It looked like there was just a bit of oversteer going into turn 3 that he couldn't get under control, and eventually it came around and then was a bit too greedy back on throttle and accelerated into the inside wall.
There it is. We'll see double flags now in every corner. A full course caution on the very first lap will slow up the field. And there you can see them waving as they head down the Andretti straightaway in through turn number 8. But unfortunately, a couple cars stricken on the exit of turn number 3.
Yeah, shame to see that on the opening lap, but at the same time, I get it. These guys have been sitting at home for a long time. They're eager to get back to racing, and unfortunately, we see that here on lap 1.
And that's the 55 of Tom Kwok in the Honda TC Canada car. There he goes to the outside. Looks like he just...
Yeah, it looks like he just lost it all on his own at the corner entry. And, you know, with these TC Canada cars, you got to drive them with a bit of oversteer. You want the rear of the car to be loose because they're front-wheel drive. You can see here as he comes off the brake into turn 3, he just catches the rear of the car and unfortunately couldn't catch it.
And you can hear somebody got into the back of Louis-Philippe Montour. Here's on board with Gary Kwok now.
Yeah, he's in survival mode and nowhere he could go.
That's a pretty solid hit for cars that aren't necessarily meant to make that contact.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a collateral effect after the Honda went around, and you know, you see that on the first lap. Everybody's hungry. The first lap is when you're going to make up the most positions. You know, it's just a mistake that unfortunately cost the 55.
Most of the field able to drive away from that. You see Bob Attrell. That's a brand new race car, about 8 laps in that car, as you can see him trying to figure out maybe a little bit of frustration from Bob Attrell. He mentioned he only had about 8 laps practice in that car coming into this weekend. There's the 15 of Nick Loymans from the Ottawa area, but that brand new Hyundai Elantra NTCR is one of 4 of those cars in North America, and Bob Attrell has one. And unfortunately, a quick pit stop for him in the early going after making some significant contact here in the opening lap.
Yeah, shame to see that. He'll lose a little bit of track position, but thankfully he'll get back out and we'll catch the tail end of this pack before they go green.
So the field trying to keep the heat in those Michelin tires. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll go back to green. The 60th year of the historic Mosport facility starts the year off with a salute to vintage racing. The Vintage Automobile Racing Association of Canada gathers yearly at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for one of the largest gatherings of historic race cars in all of North America.
Yeah, look at the car count. It's just fantastic to see. You know, these racers, it's all about passion and just the love to go to drive a race car, to drive on the track. I heard on a good year they'll see somewhere upwards of 400 cars on the entry list for this weekend.
And we continue under caution in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. There's the 15 of Nick Leumann still up on jacks. Looks like he'll be unable to resume today's race.
Tough to say what put him out. It was really just a nose to tail sort of direct contact. It didn't look like anything major. We'll see if he can get back out there.
There you see Marco Signoretti continues to lead. He's led since the drop of the green, but again, a 40-minute timed race today. That's a little bit different than counting the laps.
Yeah, Marco's one of those experienced guys. He knows this car. He's driven it last year in the IMSA Championship, and now he's back in the FEL Series.
The FEL Motorsports has partnered with the Radical Cup to bring the One-Make Series under their umbrella. The newly formed M-Zone Radical Cup Canada will race at 8 events in 2021 in association with the Sports Car Challenge Canada presented by Michelin.
Yeah, this is a single-make championship, and what's so cool about this is it's all about the driver, the setup, the engineering. There's no such thing as a balance of performance. It's one car, one driver, and it's all you got from the drop of the green flag.
They're all powered by Suzuki Hayabusa motorcycle engines. They go fast once they step on it. No doubt about that. And the aero grip is phenomenal. The SR3 model has 226 horsepower, can get up to a top speed of about 230 kilometers an hour. And they'll be doing that here at the end of the Andretti straightaway. Bruce McIntyre won the Platinum class, while Matt Graham won overall. And there you see, cleanup continues at the exit of turn number 3, the number 55 of Tom Kwok getting lifted onto the flatbed. And the 26 of Travis Hill started in 3rd in this race, comes down pit lane. So does the 66 of Gary Kwok. Now, Gary had that big incident getting into the back of the Volkswagen of Montour. So possibly some front-end damage to the nose of that Honda Civic as well. So the crew will take a look. Hopefully he'll be able to get back out and resume today's race.
Yeah, and there you see Bob Trell. He's going to be disappointed with his day. We caught up with him earlier in the weekend. He was really excited to be back here with his 2 boys, and they were just, looking forward to a good weekend together. Shame to see that end so early.
And the hood gets slammed down in frustration by the Trell crew. And there you can see another one of the cars involved in that incident, the Honda of Gary Kwok. And Todd, what's up?
Easy to see what the issue is with the 66 car of Gary Kwok. The front end is pushed in. There's steam coming out. That's a radiator problem.
Yep, and we resume under caution. You see the cars entering turn 3 behind the safety car. That's Signoretti up front, Cerrone behind him. I know these guys are eager to get back to racing, sitting at home for, what we say, 18 months.
Yeah.
This is drop of the green flag, and the last thing you want to see is an incident on the first lap.
And how difficult is it? You've got all those butterflies in your belly. You get going for lap number 1. Now you're back under caution, and you sort of get calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what you'll see now is just sort of a reset. Everybody will have a chance to digest what just happened, and we should have a great race on our hands once we go back to green.
Well, the field will line up here very shortly. A couple more laps under caution as the cleanup nearing completion on the exit of turn number 3. The 55 of Tom Kwok getting lifted up onto the flatbed. When we return, we'll take you back to green here in the inaugural FEL Sports Car Championship Canada. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We continue under caution, the cleanup taking a little bit longer here in the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. Marco Signoretti in the Ford Mustang, the Multimatic Ford Mustang. What a great looking car and great performing car this one is.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for Marco. He's really been taken under the wing of Scott Maxwell. I think Marco's actually been coaching Scott's son in a go-kart, but he's really now been taken under the wing and really invested into Multimatic. He made a couple of debut appearances last year in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. We actually raced against each other in that series, and he did a great job. Really humble young driver, young professional.
And he's no stranger to racing cars. He spent about 12 years racing go-karts, as you mentioned, and then he jumped up into the Nissan Micra Cup, actually won the championship in his very first year running that type of vehicle.
Yeah, he's a natural talent, and he's got a great opportunity here, and I hope he can make the most of it.
Well, he's led since the initial green here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but he'll have a very hungry Marco Cironi starting directly behind him. And Marco Cironi has been putting the pressure on that GT4 car the entire weekend, really, through practice, qualifying, and every time these cars are on track. As we get set to go back to green, the pace car pulls off, and it will be Signoretti, Cironi, and then Montour, your top three. Out of number 10 and back to the green flag here on the front chute.
Signoretti, he just needs to put his head down and get away. That Ford Mustang GT4, it's a quicker car. He just needs to look forward, do his thing, and get away and let the race take place behind him.
Floating down turn number 2, an off-camber blind corner, and up into turn number 3. Cironi takes a quick peek. He's not quite there, and if he peeks too much, he's got the 44 Montour ready to pounce. That Volkswagen is right in his back bumper.
And something to keep in mind, as we touched on earlier, this is multi-class racing. Cironi and Signoretti are not racing each other. Cironi is leading his class, and he's got Montour behind him. So he's going to do everything he can to stay with the Ford and get away from Montour.
The Montour will try and draft down the Andretti straightaway. One of the drivers who's watching this battle unfold from the pit lane is standing by with our Todd Lewis in the pits. Todd?
Bob, this is not the way this day was supposed to happen. I can feel the frustration coming from
it. I am frustrated, and it's tough not even doing a lap and getting taken out by somebody that spins in front of you and then get hit on the exit. But I'll tell you this, my kids are out there doing a great job. Connor, Quinn, thank you Hyundai, thank you Quaker State. We're going to come back.
Bob is cheering on the kids the rest of the way, guys.
And what a cool experience that is for Bob Atrell. He gets to race with both his children here in 2021.
Yeah, you could see the joy and emotion that he had when we spoke to him earlier in the weekend. He was just happy to be here, happy to be back at a racetrack and have his two boys racing with him. Again, shame to see him taken out on the first lap in an incident that was not his fault.
And you see the top 3 now opening up a bit of a gap on the rest of the field. The number 80 of Connor Atrell is sitting in 4th spot, trying to keep pace with these top 3 cars. You have Signoretti, you have Cironi, and you have Montour. That is your top 3.
And I got to say, I'm impressed with Cironi and Montour. They're extracting the most out of these TC Canada cars to stay with the Ford ahead.
And we have a car off, and it is one of the Atrell Hyundais off into the gravel pit. That's on the entrance of turn number 5. And it looks to be Connor Atrell or Quinn Atrell, the 86. Saw the quick number panel. Those cars painted nearly identical. As you see the other Hyundai, the light blue Quaker State-backed entry of Connor Atrell. But Quinn Atrell stuck in the sand up in turn number 5, and we stay green so far.
You know, the spotters are getting in the ear of these drivers now, letting them know there's a car off in turn 5. Keep pushing, keep pushing. It's racing until you see a full course caution.
And that's exactly what Signoretti is doing through turn number 1. You can hear him hard on the gas as he lets that V8 Ford power roar into turn number 2. And you'll see the ticker on the side of your screen will flip back and forth between the overall race order and then the race order in class. And you can see the TC Canada intervals about 0.6 of a second between Marco Cerrone, who leads that class, and Louis-Philippe Montour in second spot.
And Montour's an experienced driver in his own. He's done a bit of Trans Am TA2 racing, and now he finds himself here in the TC Canada class of FEL.
As a matter of fact, finished on a podium just last year in one of these TC Canada cars, so no stranger to making them go quickly as we ride on board with your race leader.
You see him crest the hill here underneath the Canadian Tire Bridge, a light brake, 1 gear down, lots of entry speed into turn 8.
For a new driver, how difficult is it to just trust your equipment going into that turn? And we have caution. You can see the flags come out just as I look down to my notes. You can see the flags come out. So another full course caution, the second one of the afternoon here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, that was good on the stewards to give them a full lap, to give Trell a chance to try to get out of the gravel before going under caution.
And we will get another chance to look at what happened as the pace car will pick up the fields, and they come over the crest in heading towards turn number 2. There is a Trell stricken in turn number 5 on the entrance to that corner. Have another look. See, he's already off. That's a bit of a weird spot to go off, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. We see that almost like a lockup going into turn 5, which is strange as these cars have ABS.
So possibly something amiss with the Hyundai of a Trell as we continue under a full course caution. Got a couple laps under our belts, under green at race pace here in the inaugural race of the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. The cleanup crew on scene to try and pull the Hyundai out of the gravel trap. Quinn-Trell in an I-30N TCR car. Now, all 3 of the Hyundais in the Trell stable built in Germany. They are factory-built race cars, so they're not much left of what you see on the showroom.
Yeah, that's just right, and that's the same for the entire TC Canada class. These are FIA homologated race cars, and this same race car runs anywhere from an amateur level all the way up to the professional level of the World Touring Car Championship. It is the same platform race car.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, you could take your car and essentially race around the world when getting your start here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So the drivers regrouping as we continue under a full course caution at the Varick Vintage Weekend. And welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I'm Dave Bradley. Along with me is Kyle Marcelli, and Todd Lewis is patrolling the pits. Still under caution here in the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. Bit of a rough start at the beginning of this one. Everybody's getting those wrinkles ironed out after a long layoff.
Yeah, they're doing just that. Hopefully when we go back to green here, we'll be able to get a couple of consistent laps and really, see the pace of these drivers and watch this TC Canada class battle it out.
And the car that was stopped up in turn number 5 is the 86 of Quinn-Trell, and Todd standing by in his pit. Todd?
86 team is looking and expecting for damage right now along pit road. Quinn-Trell puts the car back into gear. Looks like they're going to send him back out.
Yeah, good to see the 86 getting back on track. As I said, it was a strange mishap into turn 5. I saw tire marks leaving the road, which signals a lockup or a missed downshift. But obviously they've cleared the car. All is good, and he's back in the race.
And we had a chance to visit with a new partner with the FEL Motorsport Group. Ontario Tech University in Oshawa is home to one of North America's most advanced wind tunnels. The $100 million ACE Climatic Wind Tunnel is a commercial test facility available for any research project in both the public and private sectors. Now, some of the brightest young engineering minds work and study at the ACE facility.
If you're an engineering student here and you're taking mechanical engineering, you do your fluid dynamics lab, you do it here in the tunnel. You do it with the race car. We had the Ferrari team in here, and we worked with the Ferrari team. No better way to learn Bernoulli's equation than working with a race car in a wind tunnel.
Industry leaders, researchers, and some of the sharpest students collaborate at the ACE facility to test and validate innovations with a focus on bringing them to market as rapidly as possible. The climatic wind tunnel has the ability to recreate extreme weather conditions too, which helps the automotive industry with its challenges. The ACE wind tunnel is also utilized by many in the motorsport community to find that aero advantage. The FEL Motorsport Group has joined forces with Ontario Tech University to help promote engineering in auto racing. The ACE Speed Lab has aerodynamic and thermal dynamics specialists who have access to wind speeds of up to 270 kilometers an hour with the only yawning dynamometer in North America.
We can do thermodynamic dynamometer work and advanced force aerodynamic measurement, as well as acoustics. So we've got the Swiss Army knife of tunnels. It's the Canadian wind tunnel tool in Canada's technology toolbox.
The winner of the 2021 M-Zone Radical Cup will get some free wind tunnel test time for their efforts.
Not only does this type of facility help with aero, but their ability to test aerothermal management, so you can optimize underhood temperatures by managing airflow through the radiator into the engine compartment as well.
Yeah, that's right. That sort of aerothermo testing also helps you to obtain data for overtaking situations, drafting, straight line speed, etc.
A pretty neat deal having one of the top wind tunnels in the world with some of the brightest minds in our own backyard, just 20 minutes away from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, where we find ourselves here today. So we continue under caution here in the very first race of the season for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. Marco Signoretti in the Ford Mustang GT4, and second place is Marco Cerrone, the green and black Mark Motors Racing Audi RS3. He leads currently in the TC Canada group. Now you see the field bunching back up. We're finally set to go back to green. Just over 14 minutes left to go in this 40-minute timed race. So now is the time to go for these drivers. What started out as a long time, you could be patient, is now a very short sprint race.
See Marco Signoretti in that Ford V8 get the launch on the green.
Right on board with Travis Hill in the number 26. That's the Audi RS3. Out of the TWOth Motorsport, or Autosport group, Travis Hill has 20 years of racing experience. Along with Trevor Hill, they formed this group as mentors for younger drivers coming up through club racing groups, and they also continue that into the professional ranks. Travis, as a matter of fact, has a start in the Rolex 24.
We see LP Montour getting racy with Marco Cerrone. I think we're going to have a good battle on our hands in the next 13 minutes.
Yeah, and this is where it would manifest itself, down that straightaway, tucking into that draft, where the draft does make a difference in these cars, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Up to Mario Andretti straightaway. He's getting every bit of draft he can, trying to close in on the bumper of Cerrone and make a run at it.
Is turn 8 a very good passing opportunity? Normally at the end of a straightaway you think, well, I could probably nose it in there and get a pass made, but is it that good?
You know, this place is tough to pass in general. It's just such a fast-flowing circuit. It's hard, to find a corner where you're late on the brakes and you can out-brake somebody. We see a little bit of that into turn 3, maybe into turn 5, again in turn 9. But it's a high-risk circuit to overtake. And I think what we'll find now is, drivers, they're going to get a couple laps under their belt. Maybe LP Montour is going to figure out where his strengths are, where his weaknesses are, reference to Cerrone, and try to set up a move.
And most importantly, finally getting some temperatures, proper temperatures, in these Michelin tires and in the brakes as well, so you can really trust them when you go for that overtaking move.
And Cerrone's just so comfortable, so confident. He knows that car. I think this is year 3 for him in that Audi RS3. As I said, he spent some time in IMSA competition in the Michelin Pilot Challenge over the years, and he certainly knows this place very well.
Got a good battle back in the pack just a little bit. That appears to be a battle for 6th spot. The 48 driven by Ron Tomlinson and the 24 of Tony Martella. They're nose to tail as they head down the Andretti straightaway, a couple of Audis.
I caught up with a young Zach Vanier, who was last year's a champion in a touring car in the Audi. He's coaching Tony Martella this weekend, and we see a good race there happening for 6th.
Now, Martella has some experience, mostly in Formula 1600, so taking on the full-bodied sports car championship is a bit of a change going from, and you've done it. You've gone from the open-wheel car in the Formula 1600 into something like this, and how big of a jump is it?
Yeah, in this case, it's apples and oranges. You know, he's going from the very lightweight, low downforce single-seater, such as the Formula Ford 1600, into something with a little bit more weight, some aerodynamics that are going to play a role, but more importantly, it's front-wheel drive.
And it's a lot more horsepower, too.
We see him getting to the inside, looks like in turn 2. Yeah, and he made it stick.
That's a good move coming off turn number 1, piecing those turns together and making that work. So put the number 24 of Tony Martella up 1 spot in your running order. As you can see, the running order does get updated to the left of your screen. The GT4 group with a pair of cars here today. Signorelli leading, or Signoretti, I should say, leading overall and leading the GT4 class. Marco Cerrone is your leader in the TC Canada group, but not by too much over Louis-Philippe Montour.
Yeah, and you see the gap that Tony Martella is already putting on the 48. We'll see if he's able to close up to a Trell.
Yeah, Trell's been doing very well, but he hasn't had many drivers around him for most of this day. Once the start happens, the lead group gets out, and then you sort of fall back behind you. So now you can just concentrate on you being you and trying to hit your marks and make your laps and set your own personal best lap time, can't you?
Yeah, and catching up with a few of these drivers early in the weekend, we had rain, and a lot of them didn't get a whole lot of track time. So, you know, in some cases, you know, these consistent laps that we're seeing now is the first time this weekend where they're able to string consecutive laps together and really, you know, make sure that their tire pressures are set to where they want it, or the car's handling the way they like.
Yeah, talking to the Trell group earlier this weekend, they said we didn't really want to throw a rain setup for essentially what turned out to be a half-hour practice session in rain, and knowing what the weather was going to be the very next day in race trim. So why would you mess with things just for that short period of time? Yeah,
it's just a risk versus reward, and in that case, if you know you're racing in the dry, it's just high risk to go out in the wet, and you know, smart move by the Trells.
Well, everybody seems to have found their legs right now. We've managed to string together a handful of green flag laps, but the time is ticking down here in the inaugural race of the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin. There you see the lead overall. Marco Signoretti in the number 22 Multimatic Ford Mustang GT4, as he'll take us down the front chute. We'll go to break. We'll be back and take you to the checkers here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, as we are still under green. There's a good look at your third-place driver, Louis-Philippe Montour from Quebec, who runs, as I mentioned, in third spot, chasing Marco Cerrone. And the Audi, your overall race leader, is the Multimatic Ford Mustang GT4, driven by Marco Signoretti. We ride on board with Travis Hill in the number 26.
He's approaching turn 4, which is nearly a flat-out corner in one of these TC Canada cars. Top of 5th gear, down into turn 5, hard braking, down 2 gears to 3rd, and then an acceleration up the back straightaway.
It really is fun to ride on board with these drivers and see them as they work, because there is a lot going on. I mean, you saw a little screen on the inside of the steering wheel of Hill's car, and just the driver is looking and doing a lot of things at once.
Yeah, and you notice the race is spreading out a little bit right now in the TC Canada class, but you know, these guys, and they're getting everything they can out of the car, and being that it's a spec platform, it's very difficult to find big chunks of time, you know, so it just comes down to consistency, perfection, you know, doing the same thing over lap after lap.
And I think Hill in the Spotify-backed Audi is starting to catch the back end of the 45 of Montour. There you see the gap is shrinking And it's almost going to be a 4-car battle now for the race lead. So Hill has found his stride in the late going as we have just over 8 minutes remaining here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But like any series, the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin, relies on good officials to keep things running smoothly over the course of a weekend. And this one is no different. And we have to tip our hats to Terry Dale, the race director here today.
Yeah, Terry's a guy, he's been around this sport a long time, Canadian racer himself. You know, he's watched over a number of professional and amateur championships, and certainly the right guy to have in a new series like this.
And you've had a run-in with him in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, I sure have. Terry, I don't know if you remember, but I got disqualified from you 2009, New Jersey Motorsport Park. I think I won the race, but was disqualified for blocking. And I won't forget that one.
Yeah, not that you hold a grudge at all. As you can see, Hill is coming, though, down into turn number 8 as we ride on board your second-place driver, the 82 of Marco Cerrone. Has a little bit of steering to do, but watch his feet there, too. That's a great view.
Yeah, that is a cool view. You see him left foot brake in the car. These guys do not need to use the clutch on upshifts or downshifts, so you can left foot brake and just seamlessly bang the gears down with the sequential gearbox.
And it won't be too long before the Audi of Hill is caught up to the back bumper of that Volkswagen Golf. One of the few Volkswagen Golfs here in the TC Canada class, and the only one racing here today, driven by Louis-Philippe Montour, but he got it sorted and it's working very well, because everybody looked at the Marco Cerrone entry this weekend and said that's going to be the car to beat in this class. And you know what? He hasn't been able to run away too far.
And it's great to see two different car manufacturers running so close together as well. So great job with the BOP that's happening there at a much higher level. That's dealt with above this series, and they're just sort of told what to run. But great to see two cars of different manufacturers competing against one each other.
Balance of performance is essentially extra ballast that some of these drivers have to run based on the performance of their vehicle, correct?
Yeah, there's different things that come into play, and in a sprint race championship like this, there'll be a lot less of that. But things such as weight on the cars, restrictor size, fuel capacity, things like that are all under the balance of performance.
We talked about Hill, who's been able to track down the top 3, but the number 24 of Tony Martella, he has set sail. Once he got clear of the 48 of Tomlinson, now he's managed to catch up to the back end, the 80 of Connor Ratrell, and that is a battle for 4th. To the inside in turn number 9, there's no gap there. Will he do it in turn 10? Pokes to the inside again.
Yeah, he's wasting no time at all. We saw this as he got past the 48 earlier. He was setting sail, and now he's on the bumper. The 85 minutes to go. Looks like he has the pace. He's really got that car sorted.
And now Connor Ratrell will know he's there, so he might be able to take a little bit more defensive line. Not necessarily block the 24, but you know where to put your car to make it a little bit wider, don't you?
Yeah, now it's just one of those things where you don't want to spend too much time behind the 80. You know, then a Trell will be able to figure out, you know, maybe where the strengths and weaknesses are on the 24 car and be able to defend. So as the 24 catches the 80, he's going to want to make that move happen quick.
Yeah, and as they battle together, the 48 of Tomlinson will be able to close that gap once again and make this a 3-car battle, possibly, as we have just about 4.5 minutes left in this one. So whatever needs to be done.
Saw the 24 run a little wide there in turn 5B this lap. He might be eager beaver trying to catch up to the 80.
Well, sometimes you really want to get at it, and you just try and push it a little bit harder, and sometimes push it too hard for the car. There you see the battle is heating up for 3rd spot. As we mentioned, Hill has managed to track down the number 45 of Montour, and now he is in the draft. As we head through turn number 2, you see Montour out to the outside just a little bit, just a hair off that white line.
Yeah, so what's interesting about this battle is Cerrone really hasn't gotten too far away from Montour. This tells me that Hill has actually closed the gap on 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, he's now just 1.6 seconds back from your class leader in the 82, Marco Cerrone.
Yeah, Travis Hill's car might just be set up, or those tire pressures might have started a little bit lower, and his car's just now found a sweet spot. He's been able to close the gap on the 45.
And it would take a long time for those air pressures to build because we had so many caution laps in the early going.
Yeah, just a number of factors.
On board Montour, and you saw him look up in his rearview mirror. He knows that Hill is right there peaking in turn number 8. Hill can't quite make the move. Will he do it in turn number 9? He's a little bit too far back for that.
So he's doing the right things. He's getting in the mirrors of the 45. But LP, he's an experienced driver. He's been in this spot before in other racing categories. He's not going to make it easy.
And the thing about Montour is that he seems to be as good or maybe even better than the Audi in the right places, in those corners that it could be a passing opportunity for Hill.
Yeah, it looks as though he was able to pull a gap actually through turns 1 and even 2. Hill was struggling a little bit there, running wide.
Now the gap opens up just a little bit as you saw Hill having to fight the steering wheel. On board with Montour again.
A big thing with these front-wheel drive TC Canada cars is really taking care of that front tire. You're asking the tire up front to do a lot. You know, it's doing most of the braking, it's doing the turning, and it's doing the accelerating. And so we might just find that, you know, the drivers that are able to take care of that tire, it pays off late in the race.
And it seems to be you have a small window of opportunity to really push the car hard, and then you have to back off and maybe preserve those Michelin tires just a little bit, let them cool off and gain maximum traction again.
Yep, that's very common. You just give the tire a cool down lap and then back in attack mode. As we see the 24 here working his way back onto the bumper of the 80. He's got a minute and a half left to do it.
And he'll know that the clock is ticking. He made that one attempt in turn number 10 and had to back out of it. But Connor Luttrell doing a great job in that Hyundai as we see the white flag. One more lap to go here in this race, and another opportunity, turn 10. And it looks like Martella chooses not to stick the nose in that time, so he'll wait one more opportunity. He'll see the white flag this time by.
Yeah, he looked really strong in the last sector, 8, 9, 10, and we'll see if he'll maybe just set it up for this final lap.
Those were the areas that he was better than the Hyundai that he's chasing of Connor Luttrell. Luttrell sitting in 5th spot overall. Martella in 6th, looking for 5th. Turn number 3 presented a good opportunity. Luttrell, a great job at sticking that car right in the middle of the road.
You know, another thing these drivers are dealing with is a little bit of aero wash. This is a fast circuit. A lot of these corners are 4th, 5th gear. When you get right up close to the car in front, you lose a bit of downforce. You lose grip.
In through turn 5, Martella needs that drive off of 5, but here is your overall leader all by himself. In through turn number 9 for the final time. In past 10 and on to the front stretch, and Marco Signoretti will be your inaugural winner of the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. Marco Cerrone will take the checker in the TC Canada class, also first-time winner here in this brand new championship. And here's that battle for 5th. One more opportunity in 10 and can't make it work. Martella wanted it, but tried, and Luttrell will hold on for 5th spot.
Oh, that was great racing to see late in the closing stages of this one. Yeah, Marco did just a superb job today. You know, he executed perfectly. He won the race, and again, a great opportunity with Multimatic Motorsports, you know, an icon in Canadian motorsport.
Yeah, and that crew gave him a very, very good, fast, reliable race car here today, and it's no surprise they bring some top-notch stuff to the track. So when we return, we'll get a chance to chat with these drivers in victory lane. Marco Signoretti takes his cool-down lap here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Welcome back to Victory Lane here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. And there's your overall winner climbing out, but we'll take a look at your top 14 finishers here today. Marco Signoretti, the winner overall. Cerrone coming home second overall, but you take a look at some of these other battles that we were watching. Trell coming home just ahead of Martella for fifth spot, and number of drivers involved in that early incident on lap number 1, unable to finish today's race. Let's head down to Victory Lane and chat with Marco.
Marco Signoretti has got the helmet off, the smile is on his face. Had a couple of early cautions that sort of slowed everybody's progress, but once we got rolling with green flag racing, you were kind of checking out on everybody.
Yeah, it's different categories between the two cars, right? So there's that for sure. But it was a good experience running under that many caution laps and then having to clean up the tires to go green again. So I'm happy if I can keep gaining experience like this, it'll be a great year.
Terrific race for Marco Signoretti, winner here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Best of all, as you heard, using it as a learning experience. Let's take a look at your point standings for TC Canada, because this is where we saw the majority of the drivers. Again, Montour, Travis Hill, your top 3, and then Martella, Connor Trell rounding out the top 5. But let's head down to your race winner.
Marco, you're the winner in the TC Canada class. Nice to have a first win in the first race in this series.
Absolutely. The inaugural race for FEL. Yeah, I'm very proud of that. It looked like a great weekend so far. I didn't expect so many yellow flags. I'm sorry about the competitors. They had some issues, but otherwise the team gave me a fantastic car, and I looked in my rear. I had LP behind me, and I know he can drive, boys. So I just tried to not make mistakes. The tires held up. The Michelins were fantastic. So a big thank you to my team, especially that gentleman over there. Big thank you to Mark Motors. Without them, obviously this doesn't happen. So thank you very much, and it's great to be on TSN again.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Set for the first trophy presentation here of 2021. The Sports Car Championship Canada has been brought to you by Multimatic, strength through technology. By Michelin, a better way forward. And by Hyundai Canada. So there's your podium in the GT4 class. Marco Signoretti will pick up the big hardware there, but the battles we saw all day long, especially in this TC Canada class, will really set up something special over the course of this 2021 season.
Yeah, sure did, Dave. Took a little bit to get going at the beginning, you know, shaking the cobwebs off, getting the adrenaline out of the way. We had some early cautions to deal with, but then that second half of the race was great. We were able to see the pace in these drivers and these cars, and it sets up for a great championship ahead.
Battles throughout the field all afternoon long, highlighted by that dice for third spot towards the end of this race. But when the green dropped, everybody dicing for position here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. As you mentioned, Kyle, some battle scars from the first one, but everybody will lick their wounds in the paddock and be back.
Yeah, that's just right. And let's not forget the next round is back here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So these drivers and teams, you'll be able to use what resources, what they learned this weekend, and reapply that as they come back. Then it's a 12-race championship also. We go to ICAR, Calabogie, and then we return to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in the fall.
Bunch of different tracks, a bunch of different places, and the ability for these drivers to test their skills in Ontario and Quebec. We'll get a chance to see top-notch road racing talent all season long. A big congratulations to Marco and Marco for winning the inaugural race of the Sports Car Championship Canada here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.